Beijing opposes current sanctions against the Taliban. The stance falls in line with the friendly relations between them, but each with their own selfish motives. An eastern Chinese city under lockdown for nearly a month. Residents in some areas aren't allowed to go out, even for food. Military exercises seem to become an everyday routine in areas close to China. The US, Australia, Japan, and India hosting drills near the South China Sea, while Beijing held recent exercises in Tibet, sending a message to neighboring India. And China's pork investment in South America sparks criticism. Argentine environmentalists launched a protest, opposing a possible deal with China to install mega pig farms. Welcome to China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. As many Western countries' relationship with the Taliban become increasingly tense, Beijing is having no such troubles. China and the Taliban are promoting friendly relations, but for each side, it's a friendship in search of advantages.
Right now, many countries around the world are busy withdrawing their citizens from Afghanistan, but Beijing isn't one of them. According to a spokeswoman for China's foreign ministry, Chinese people in Afghanistan had already returned home before the current situation came to a head. Chinese media report that back in early July, a China-bound evacuation airplane left Afghanistan with 210 Chinese citizens on board. It's unclear if other Chinese airplanes were used for the same purpose. Aside from evacuations, Beijing and the Taliban have both expressed desires for friendly relations. In particular, since the Taliban seized Kabul, Beijing has described the Taliban's takeover as the choice of the Afghan people, while the Taliban voiced hopes that Beijing would contribute to its rebuilding effort. Earlier this week, China's foreign ministry spokesman promised that Beijing would take on an active role in Afghanistan. He also opposed current sanctions on the Taliban, instead advising the international community to help promote a smooth power transition in Afghanistan. But those aren't the only comments coming out of China on the subject. Beijing has kept up a constant stream of criticism toward the U.S., all for what it described as abandoning Afghanistan amid the crisis, though there may be a practical reason for Beijing's stability concerns in Afghanistan. China's Xinjiang region shares an almost 50-mile border with Afghanistan. Beijing seems to fear that instability in Afghanistan could make its way across the shared border. The communist regime has also long feared that Afghanistan could harbor Uyghur militants, groups that could threaten or attack the Xinjiang region. Last month, the Taliban promised never to allow any forces within its territory to engage in acts against China, but it remains to be seen how much control the group can exercise over the country. Analysts say that China-Taliban relations will in reality be more pragmatic in nature. That's compared to the friendliness portrayed by the media. A senior research fellow from the India-based Usanis Foundation, Frank Layberger, points out that the Taliban's main concern right now is cash flow, suggesting the new regime will be nice to China as long as Beijing foots the bill. Money is among the Taliban's most pressing challenges. That's because the U.S. has blocked its access to billions of dollars in Afghan federal reserves. Those funds are held in U.S. bank accounts, and the International Monetary Fund has also withheld $460 million in aid.
An eastern Chinese city is under lockdown and has been for nearly a month. Residents aren't allowed to go out even for food. The rigid measures are triggering pushback among locals.
Over 100 residents in Yangzhou City gathered at the gate of their neighborhood Sunday. They were trying to break through the gate to get some food.
I didn't ask for meat. I didn't ask for oil. I didn't ask for shrimp. I didn't ask for quality of life. I'm asking to buy some rice for my family so I can go home and cook rice soup for our parents and children.
To calm down the angry residents, the local officials promised free groceries would come the following day. But on the second day, the residents shared the pictures of what they received, saying they got only one potato or one eggplant. Yangzhou City in eastern China has been put under lockdown since the first local CCP virus case was confirmed more than a month ago. Some areas of the city allow one person from every household to go out for shopping, and this person can only go out every 3 days. Or residents can order food online, but in some other areas where virus cases had been detected, people are forbidden to leave home, nor can they order food online. They rely completely on deliveries from the authorities.
One cannot buy groceries by themselves. Someone does the shopping for them. He tells the residents what groceries are available, but some foods, including fish and shrimp, are not available.
A Yangzhou resident posted a video describing their life under lockdown.
Drones are in the sky, volunteers downstairs, security guards at the gate, and policemen in the street. We are being tested for the virus every day. We look forward to the lifting of the lockdown every day. Without a special pass, even if you can get out of the gate of the community, you can't go far before you're captured by the police in the street.
He adds that in the evening, people follow the contact tracing of confirmed cases, afraid of a coming bus to take them away for quarantine. He ridiculed the city's strict bans, saying there are only 2 cities in the world with such bans, Yangzhou and Kabul, Afghanistan's capital in chaos.
A Chinese citizen this week asked his local government for permission to hold a protest. The demonstration would be against forced vaccinations for the CCP virus. But the police soon sought him out to have a talk. Chen Xiaofeng is from central China's Zhuzhou city. He wanted to hold an assembly, parade, and sit-in next Monday. Local police refused his application verbally, but they were not willing to give him a written reply. Chen told the Epoch Times that according to Chinese law, if the authorities don't give a written reply 2 days before the planned parade, that can't be considered consent, and people can proceed with the event as scheduled. Chen accuses the authorities of forcing people to get the shots and making them sign supposedly voluntary vaccination agreements. But after they sign, the authorities are free of responsibility for any troubles encountered after the vaccination. On Wednesday, local police sought Chen out to talk. He returned home later that day. There's always an element of risk if you stand up against the authorities in China, and you may even be risking your own life. A video online is sparking fury among Chinese netizens. It shows a woman being kicked from behind at a police station. Her head hits the wall, and then she seems to lose consciousness. Her current situation is unknown. The video was posted on Chinese social media earlier this month. The caption says the woman's name is Wang Lijun and that she was at a police station in the eastern coastal city of Weihai. It says she faced revenge from the police after she lodged a complaint against the director and party secretary of the district's police station. A netizen commented on the action, calling it barefaced murder. Another netizen said, "These beasts are really not humans. They are completely inhumane. They are beasts that were fed by the milk of their Communist Party mother." In China, the Communist Party often refers to the party as the people's mother, and a third netizen commented on the current state of China, saying this is an age of lawlessness where everyday folks are ill-fated and can lose their lives anywhere, anytime. As the public waits for the results of the virus origin report from U.S. intelligence, Beijing is using all means to shift the Wuhan lab leak theory to a U.S. origin theory. They are staging public displays, from raps to social media posts. They try to give the idea validity, but it's having little effect outside China.
Beijing is spreading disinformation via claims that the CCP virus, or Chinese Communist Party virus, came from a U.S. military base. Experts say the claim hasn't had its intended effect, failing to improve China's reputation on the global stage, though it did gain some popularity inside China. The propaganda is circulating ahead of the release of a U.S. intelligence investigation report centered around the pandemic's origin. The Biden administration ordered the 90-day probe in May, but while the public waits for the non-classified version of the report, the CCP is shifting its strategy. In recent weeks, Chinese sources took a more proactive route. They say the virus came from a Maryland military base called Fort Detrick, located about 50 miles north of Washington, D.C. They provided no evidence to support the claim. The military installation was once the center of America's bioweapon program and now holds biomedical labs known to be studying deadly viruses. The new propaganda campaign is running on all fronts, from music to social media posts. In one case, China's Foreign Ministry spokesman Zhao Lijian shared lyrics on a rap song on Twitter. The lyrics read, "Open the door to Fort Detrick, shed light on tightly held secret." Zhao commented that the song speaks our minds. He also posted a number of questions last year, calling for an investigation into Fort Detrick for ties to the pandemic's origin. His influence plays an important role in echoing Beijing's so-called U.S. origin theory. A number of Chinese diplomats have also joined in. The Chinese regime's state-run broadcaster, CCTV, even released an hour-long special report detailing what it calls the dark history behind Fort Detrick. But that's not all. another of the CCP's media mouthpieces, newspaper The Global Times, is pushing the narrative as well. It published an article that attempts to connect the origin of the virus with the Fort Detrick researcher, Dr. Ralph Barrick. The article quotes a paper that Dr. Barrick co-authored, published in the Natural Medicine Journal, and suggests he created a new virus with the ability to infect humans. But the Global Times left out the editor's note. In it, the journal explained it was aware the paper was used to spread the false theory. Speaking about Beijing's Fort Detrick claims and its promotion of them on social media, a senior investigative analyst says, "We see a more sustained campaign involving more numerous and geographically spread accounts to promote the narrative."
A Chinese Communist Party official was discharged last year. It was said to be punishment for his poor handling of the virus situation in Wuhan. But he recently took on another title as a high-level CCP official. Questions are arising about whether China's officials are truly liable and accountable. NTD's Don Ma has more.
Recent Chinese media reports some Chinese citizens are concerned that Communist Party officials may not be being held to account. Secretaries of the Wuhan Municipal and Hubei Provincial Party committees, Ma Guoqiang and Jiang Chaoliang, were dismissed from their positions last year during the early stages of the pandemic. It was due to their poor handling of the virus situation and lockdowns that resulted in countless deaths. But recent Chinese reports say both of them have been reinstated as party officials, just under a different title. Locals tell NTD they're concerned about whether Chinese officials are truly held accountable for their misdeeds.
It's just a change in position. He wasn't dismissed. The people are not allowed to comment on the government's appointments. The leader's appointment and removal is not something we the people can control. We the people are worthless. We are casually disposed of.
Unlike democratic countries, in China, party officials are appointed by the regime, and citizens don't get a say in it.
I don't even know what they're doing inside the party. They shouldn't be doing this. I'm being kept a close eye on right now, so I'm not at liberty to say much.
The circumstances surrounding party officials Ma and Jiang is not an isolated case. In China, it's common to see officials get temporarily dismissed from a position for wrongdoing, only to get reinstated later. It's a common move used by the CCP to feign what looks like accountability. Don Ma, NTD News.
The U.S. Navy is hosting a joint maritime military exercise near the South China Sea. It's called Malabar 2021. These are annual maritime drills, and Quad members Australia, Japan, and India will all participate this year. In a statement Wednesday, the U.S. Navy announced that Phase 1 of the exercises would begin Thursday in the Philippine Sea. The Malabar exercises aim to address maritime threats and bolster a free and rules-based Indo-Pacific. Although it doesn't mention China by name, the statement declares that Australian, Indian, Japanese, and American maritime forces will work together to deter malign influence in the region. The exercises include training in anti-submarine wartime operations, air warfare operations, and live-fire gunnery events. The four nations are sending some of their most powerful vessels to participate, such as destroyer warships. The U.S. Navy is sending the 7th Fleet. That's the Navy's largest forward-deployed fleet. Almost 10,000 Chinese troops joined a drill in Tibet, sending a strong warning to India. On Thursday, the Chinese army posted a video about the drill on messaging platform Weibo, saying the Tibet military district recently mobilized more than 10 brigades to carry out the drill. The army is responsible for China's border with India. The relations between the two countries became tense after a clash last year that caused deaths of 20 Indian soldiers and an unknown number of Chinese soldiers. Since the summer, China has intensified its military exercises in Tibet, but also in all the sea areas near China's coast, including the South China Sea and the East China Sea near Taiwan. Japan and Taiwan will hold security talks this week for the first time. This despite Beijing's opposition. Japanese media first announced the news last week. China has repeatedly warned against such talks. On Thursday, the Chinese Foreign Ministry asked Japan to reconsider, saying that the Taiwan issue is the foundation of China-Japan relations and that they oppose any form of official interaction between the two. China claims Taiwan as Chinese territory, even though the island is democratically ruled, has its own elected president, constitution, and currency. Despite China's warnings, Japan and Taiwan will go ahead with the talks. Two lawmakers, each from Taiwan and Japan, will hold a virtual meeting on Friday. They will discuss security concerns in the Indo-Pacific and China's increased military aggression. Recently, Japanese officials said Taiwan's freedom from China is also crucial to Japan's own survival. Japan's deputy prime minister has also said that if Taiwan falls into the hands of China, Japan may be next. Japan's worries come amid rising concerns of a possible Chinese invasion of Taiwan. The U.S. Justice Department is ordering the U.S. branch of a Hong Kong media company to register as a foreign agent, saying it's actually Beijing-owned. The company Singtao is Hong Kong's oldest Chinese-language daily newspaper. U.S. media outlet Axios says the company became mostly Chinese-owned earlier this year, when a mainland Chinese firm took the majority of its stakes. The D.O.J's decision comes amid growing tensions between the U.S. and China. The agency concluded that Beijing is using Singtao for political activity in the U.S. Singtao denied the allegation, saying it's private and not controlled by the Chinese Communist Party. In the U.S., Singtao publishes a print newspaper in New York, Los Angeles, and San Francisco. It also owns a California-based radio station. According to its company data, Singtao gets over half of their U.S. content from a company in Shenzhen, China. According to the Center for Responsive Politics, Beijing has dramatically increased its spending on foreign agents in the past 5 years, especially in media influence operations. The Chinese regime has halted more than 40 companies from entering stock markets in Shanghai and Shenzhen. Regulators are investigating intermediary firms, including one of the country's biggest homegrown accounting companies. Chinese auditors are in the sights of the country's latest crackdown on accounting fraud. The Wall Street Journal reports that dozens of companies are having to put their fundraising plans on hold as regulators scrutinize firms. Companies using Ruihua certified public accountants are included in the investigations. Ruihua is China's second-largest homegrown accounting firm and is being probed for suspected violations of securities law. Other accountants are being investigated, including GP-certified public accountants. A probe starting in May determined they inflated Kangmei Pharmaceuticals' cash holding by more than $4 billion. Earlier this year, Kande Composite Material Group was found to have inflated profits over 4 years by $1.7 billion. They were a client of Ruihua's. Beijing said on Monday it will tighten scrutiny over accounting firms in a fight against financial forgery, vowing zero tolerance toward misconduct. Frank Xie, a business professor at the University of South Carolina, said that the CCP is actually the first perpetrator of fraud because the CCP itself is fraudulent in almost everything, and that the CCP is to blame for the fraud in China's economic figures. China's pork investment has sparked criticism in Argentina. On Wednesday, Argentine environmentalists launched a protest in Buenos Aires. They opposed a possible agreement with China to install mega pig farms in their country. Here's more.
Dozens of Argentines protested in Buenos Aires Wednesday. They gathered to speak out against a possible deal with China, one that would boost industrial pig farms in the country. Activists wearing pig masks rallied in front of the Chinese embassy. Some held placards that read, "We reject the deal with China."
There is the tremendous environmental toll because pigs pollute. They pollute underground water supplies. They pollute the environment.
China's pig farm agreement aimed to double Argentina's pork output within 4 years. The country planned to sign the deal last year, but delayed it amid environmental concerns. Protesters said the deal would disrupt local water supplies, as much of the country is suffering from drought. Others were concerned about animal abuses and possible viruses contracted from pigs.
We believe that we are a year and a half into the pandemic, and this brings a mega pandemic factory to our country.
China has been plagued by African swine fever. The disease has forced the slaughter of millions of pigs within its borders.
And that's all for today's China in Focus. Thanks for watching, and see you tomorrow.